Amandalo means. I'm 18, I'm from Immokalee, and this is my story.
I'm Alyssa Cole, I'm 16, and I'm from Immokalee, Florida, and this is my story.
I guess what I can talk about is my family is at right now and how it changed. My dad being locked up and then my mom supporting all 6 of her kids, I think, 5, 6 of her kids. And I used to be kind of like a goofy kid when I was young in elementary and stuff, you know. Having my dad being locked up, I didn't really have a father figure in my life, so I didn't know what was right or wrong. I was kind of a bad kid in a case, but I think that changed when my father came out. I think when I was about to go to middle school, and I haven't seen or talked to him. I didn't really know how he was, so it kind of changed like our attitudes. Like even now, like I didn't know what he looked like until like I saw him in prison for like the first time when I was really young. I didn't know what he liked. I didn't know anything about him. He was just a ghost to me. But my mom was really there for me all the time. She was my mom and dad. She was my biggest support in my rock. Being in that situation was difficult, and I had to learn a lot of things from my aunt and uncle, since my mom was always working hard for all of us. Seeing all that and learning from it is kind of hard to take. Even being her only son with 2 older sisters, 2 younger sisters, and being the middle child. I found Alyssa, and she brought me closer to God and made me into a different person than I was before. She changed the way I see things and the way I used to see things. She brought me closer to Him and to see what God would want me to do and to see what His plan for me. And I'm glad I met her, and to bringing me into the church and meeting Pastor Josh and the rest of her family, and teaching me how God can just change your life just like this and show you way more than I ever thought. I know it's totally changed me. It made me like into a very happy person. It's like starting from scratch. And I'm just glad I changed everything I could and to be the person I'm not anymore. The things my dad has done, I've always resented him for it, and I used to hate him for it. I didn't see eye to eye with him, even though when my mom always told me that in the Bible that it always tells you to honor your mother and father, whatever the case is. And I wouldn't listen because I'd always talk bad about him. He's been to prison for drugs. People would tell me that I look like my dad, and when I hear that, it just gets me mad.
Same.
Because when they say that, it makes me think that I'll be just like him, but then I know I'm not, because I'm a kind-hearted person. Even though I may look like him, I will never do what he has done to me or my family. And I drew attention to sports to drag away from depression and unhappiness being with him, having him at the house. A lot of the time I wouldn't see him because he wouldn't be around us. He'd be around town most of the day. Sometimes I'm just scared for my mom because I know he used to get mad and abuse her sometimes. And that would scare me, because then I'd wake up hearing them argue or do anything, and then I would have to get in the middle between them. A few weeks ago, he had taken me from the house to a meeting I was supposed to be having for college, and Usually when we take drives, it's always silent in the car, and with any of my sisters, it's always quiet in the car, and we never really speak to him about anything because we're really closed up and we're scared of him. But I remember he took me there. We talked to the college I'm going to, and on our way back, he had thrown me off and asked why we don't talk to him. And I gave him that reason, and he just didn't believe me. But I told him the truth, and I tried showing him love the way my mom wanted me to. At first, when I was really young, my mom would take us to church, and our grandma would always tell us stories and stuff in the Bible, and I believed for a little bit, but I lost my faith because I stopped going to church. I felt like the devil was doing work around me. In middle school, I had lost my grandma. It was always taking care of us and done whatever she could for her grandchildren. And I loved her for that. And I lost her when I was in middle school, in the 8th grade, near almost my sister's birthday. And that really shook me because I really didn't have anyone else to talk to in my family about things. And that was a test for me. I had another test when I lost my uncle. He had committed suicide. When I heard that tore me apart. My mom and sister had told me that when we were in the doctor's office. And I kind of broke down when my grandma had told me he had shot himself in his own house with his wife. I always wanted to ask why this happened. I just didn't think he'd be gone that soon. I always thought I'd have a lot more time with him. Seeing how all these people from my life were taken away gave me a different look on life and pushed me to get closer with God and to know that He's always there watching over me, and to see Him when I'm struggling with anything, because anything can happen at any moment.
I'm Alyssa. I'm 16 and I'm from Immokalee, Florida, and this is my story. My story, I guess it begins back when my parents divorced. It was back in '09, and I guess that's where everything just got crazy, because my dad, he met Sonia, which is the woman, or my stepmom, that everyone sees me in church with, and my mother had got with abusive guy, and just living there, it was so hard because, oh my God, he would beat us, and it was so hard because even then, I was trying to keep my faith because I'd grown up always going to church and being around church and listening to the stories growing up. So I knew there was a God, but during that time, I didn't see where He was at. We would go to bed hungry every night because she would sell our food stamps to buy him and her new clothes, and we would always go to school, and it was horrible because we stunk so bad. We would not take showers, we would not brush our teeth because we just didn't have all that stuff at our house, stuff kids need. And it's like, I missed out on so much of my childhood, but I felt like if I didn't go with my dad, that things were just gonna get worse. Because how it was I would stay with 1 week with my mom and then the other week with my dad. And during that week with my dad, everything was great, but on the other side, it was with my mom, and it's like I wanted to reach out and tell people and help, but every time someone would come and try to help, we had like multiple DCF visits from school teachers, And every time they would come, she would tell us not to tell nobody, that if we tell anybody what was going on, how our living situation was, she said that we would end up in foster care, and always said, do you think your dad would take all 4 of you kids? And it was just scary. So we were forced to lie and tell everybody that the situation was okay, that we loved our mom, and that everything was fine and we were happy, but that wasn't the case. And during that time, I was around 5th grade. It was just I didn't see God was there for me. It was so hard. I remember praying to die because I did not want to wake up. I did not want to wake up the next morning. And every morning that I wake up, I was so disappointed because I didn't want to be there. But I know I had to be strong because my mother, she had given up on my brother Joe, and she sent him away to live with my dad because Joe and my stepdad didn't get along, so she gave up on Joe. And I felt like if I didn't stay, I wouldn't know what would happen to Cameron and Olivia, which are my 2 younger siblings. So I stayed, and every day it just got worse and worse. And I couldn't see where God was at in that point in my life. One day, that's whenever I decided I wasn't gonna stay there anymore. So I went to school, and I decided that I'm not gonna go back to my mom's house. So after that, I walked to my dad's house, and my little sister and brother, they were like, come on, Alyssa, get in the car. And I was telling them, no, I don't want to get in the car. I'm not going home. And I just took off running straight to my dad's house, and my stepdad, he was driving the car, and he was just cussing at me, telling me whenever I get home, I'm going to get it. And I was just telling him, no, no, no. And I just took off running, and I jumped a fence to get to my house. And everything after that was kind of a blur because we went to court. My dad got custody of me, but the 2 younger siblings were still living over there, Cameron and Olivia. And that was like my biggest fear because I knew that the only reason why I stayed over there in the first place was because I was afraid of what was going to happen to them. So 2 months after I started living with my dad, what had happened was we were at Fortune Cookie, and Olivia had went to the restroom, and my stepmom went with her because she was 3 years old at the time, so she helped her wash her hands or what she needed. And Sonia said, Alyssa, come here. And I didn't know what I did, so I thought I was in trouble. So I walked over there, and I was like, yeah. And she just busted out crying, and I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, Olivia, Olivia. And I opened the door, and my sister, from her back all the way down, was covered in bruises. And we left that restaurant, and it turns out that they had gotten beaten from wearing new clothes. And then I guess after that, things were going good. It's like there was still multiple things that my mother was trying to do, trying to get back custody of us, making lies about our family. But through it all, we stayed strong. And I guess that's when I started seeing that there was a God, and God was there. And I still wasn't so sure about trusting him, and my faith was always a little bit shaking because I still believed God was there, but I didn't know where exactly he was. Like, I believed there was God, but I didn't know how to reach out to him, how to see that he was there. And it's been that way for a while until recently. I guess the big moment in my life was February 6th of this year. And it took the worst day of my life, one of the worst days of my life, to realize that God was there. I was in the art room at that time, and it was me and Amandalo and our teacher, and we were all just hanging out. And then that's when my dad had called me, and he said, Alyssa, your biological mother had called me. And I was confused. I was like, what does she want? And he's like, I think I know what it is. And I was like, well, just call her back to see what she wants. and he had called me, and he told me, he's like, I have something to tell you. And I was like, yeah, what is it? And he's like, your biological father had passed away, because my dad, Joe, he got with my mom whenever she was 8 months pregnant with me. And I always knew that I had a different father, but that never changed the way how I felt about my dad, because that's my dad. He's been there since day one. So it hurt me, because there was so much I wanted to know for my sake. And I was just so confused and lost, and I didn't understand. And that day, I told my stepmom, I was like, can you please pick me up? And she came and she picked me up and took me out to eat. And she's like, what do you want? What would make you feel better? And I was like, can we just go drive out to LaBelle? She said, okay. And while we're passing the Tex-Mex, and we get a call, and then my grandfather had passed away. And it was the most unbelievable day I could ever imagine. And it was right there that even through the worst of things, I was like, oh God, if you're there, please just give me a sign, please. And just as soon as I said it, it started raining. And I was like, I know God is real. I know he's there, because how could it just be so coincidental that this had happened? And ever since from there, I just had God in my heart, because even it took me having the worst day of this year to see it, his grace. The Lord has definitely changed me for the better, and he's going to continue to change my life. And I know it's going to be for the better, because overall he's made me a better person. Where I used to have so much hate in my heart, and I was just mad, and I would get into fights and be so in drama all the time. It was horrible. And I still, I couldn't believe that was me. And when people come up and tell me, how I used to be and how I am now. Now I have a 4.2 GPA, all advanced classes. I'm so proud of myself. And it's because I work hard, and also I know it's because of God, because I couldn't do it without him. I couldn't do it without having something to persuade me and to make me keep wanting to be better for myself. It's through his grace that it showed me that I don't have to be my past. I don't have to be my mom. I don't have to be my biological father. I don't have to be any of that. I can be me, Alyssa, and I can do whatever I want, and that's just through him. And I know my future is going to be bright as long as I stay where I need to be and how I am, through the church, through Pastor Josh, through my family, through anything, through the Bible. And as long as I keep my faith, I know I can go anywhere from there.
The one thing that you need God, you need your Bible, and you need your faith. Those are the main three things that you need to have a closer relationship with God. And you should always praise him, speak to him in prayer, so that you feel empowered that he's always there with you in every struggle. And you should always know that he loves you.
For anyone watching this, the main thing I want to say, whether you're going through a struggle or you're at the place you want to be at right now, mainly for those in the struggle, the thing that I told myself throughout it all is Jesus will not give you anything you can't handle. And that's how I managed to keep my faith the whole time, because he gives you these challenges and obstacles in life that you can overcome from it, and that you can grow, even if it's as a person or in faith. You're gonna grow from it, and you're gonna learn from it. And overall, as long as you have your faith and you know that you can overcome anything through Lord.
You should also speak to God. He's always listening to you. Just tell him what you're struggling with, and just pray about it. Even if it's a friend, a family member, anything. You gotta pray about it, and you gotta have your faith. You gotta read your Bible, and that's mainly it. That's all you need.
The Lord will never turn away from you, or turn his back on you.
Yeah. Okay, I like to share John 4:14-3, and I actually found this on my way going to Ohio. It says, "I'm going." Oh wait, if that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. And I thought that was a great verse because it shows no matter where you are, you can always take God with you in like any place you are, whether it's a restaurant, friend's house, or college, anywhere. You can always speak out to him, and he'll always listen and be there for you.
I'm going to be reading from Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. This verse is really important to me, and it means a lot because it was through everything that I've been through. Because of God, he gave me strength to get through it all. And that applies in any situation, whether it's financial, in a marital relationship, in a teenage relationship, it doesn't matter. It's when you're going through something hard, you need Christ in your life to give you strength to get through it, because it's only with him things are going to get better.
Well, I just want to say, if you guys can at least pray for me and my trip to college in Ohio, and just pray that I still manage to stay close to God up there, and that I don't really struggle with as much as anything I couldn't handle, or that nothing bad happens to me or my family, and that nothing happens to this sweet angel over here.
Oh, give me a break. Pray for me because he's leaving the college. But seriously, pray for my dad because my dad's always hardworking. He's got all these kids. You see us, we take up the whole front row. So pray for my dad. Pray for my siblings and hope the best for us. Pray for my mom, or my stepmom, Sonia, because she, it takes a lot for her to take on the role of a mom for all these kids. And pray for her. Pray for, just pray for my family, and pray for anyone, even your worst enemies. So if you can, pray for my biological mom. Hope that she finds the Lord. And I just want to just thank you.